ladies, Danielle here from Ladies That Lead, and today I'm going to be interviewing the beautiful Claudia here, and she's going to share with us a little bit about her business journey, how it all came about, the ups and the downs, and the good days and the bad days on her venture. And really excited to have you here, Claudia.
Thanks, Danielle. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So let's get started. All right then. So what kind of ignited the spark within you to start out on your business venture? And sort of looking back, is there anything that you would change now, knowing what you know now from when you first started out?
Look, absolutely. I think what ignited sort of me to kickstart a business sort of career, I guess, or become an entrepreneur, was feeling very confined as an employee. Mm-hmm. I was working in the not-for-profit sector, and I just started to feel like, okay, this is it. This is the rest of my life. It's 9 to 5. It's a set wage. There's got to be more to it than that. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I went out and started to work for myself and contract my services, which was the start of my actual business journey or entrepreneurial type journey. So feeling confined, I think, would be the major reason.
Perfect. Okay, great. And is there anything that you would sort of change now with the process and how it's all come about, knowing what you know now?
Oh, look, I think there would be lots of things. I mean, my journey's been quite vast in the different things that I've done. Mm-hmm. I became rapidly very successful in that consulting business. Mm-hmm. The work came after me, and I don't think that was a really good thing at the time. I went into like a six-figure business very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think I just took that for granted. Mm-hmm. And it meant that sort of my learning curve and understanding what was actually going on, it sort of halted. So I think what I've learned from that is that was just sort of a lucky type of experience, mm-hmm. and that sometimes you have to put a little bit more thought, a little bit more mindfulness into what's actually happening. And that played itself out eventually when I virtually built myself up really well and then actually sabotaged myself greatly.
Right.
So that was a big learning curve for me.
Okay. Perfect. And what sort of 3 pieces of advice would you give even to sort of college students who are sort of thinking about starting an entrepreneurial journey but not too sure? What kind of advice would you give them?
Okay, I think what I'd give a university students, the kind of advice I would give them is knowledge does not necessarily equal success.
Yeah.
You can know a lot of things and you can learn a lot, particularly if you're studying business degrees and things like that. But mm-hmm. as the great Anthony Robbins says, it's 80% mindset and it's 20% the mechanics of business.
Yeah.
100%. So that's I'd be telling uni students, don't think all that knowledge is going to get you over the line. There's just so much more involved than that, and it's your attitude.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%. Okay, so how is obviously you've evolved in your businesses and that kind of thing, but how in the early days, how did it affect your sort of family life? With that balance and how was that kind of journey for you when you first sort of started out? As far as affecting your family life.
I think it really does, and somebody that I got divorced sort of about the time I started my entrepreneurial journey. Mm-hmm. But I think as a mum and raising what was 7 or 8 year old when I first started, it's quite challenging because you're juggling a number of roles. Yeah. You're trying to get this beast going and this business going and be successful. You've got the demands of being a mum, and somewhere in there you've got to find time for yourself.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, it's really quite hard. It's not easy, that's for sure. Yeah.
But you made it through, and you're a huge success. So that's what it's all about. So, as far as you know, there's a lot of fear that comes up in the early stages of business. So, can you just share with me, sort of briefly, what's sort of your number one fear, and how do you kind of handle it and manage your fear?
I think I'm a bit of a risk taker, and I always have been. So I've tended to throw myself in, and I'm not too scared of too many things, and I
Yeah.
think that's indicative of having sort of a lot of challenges in my early life and growing up, which is part of my story. So
Yeah.
I've learned to overcome those things. But I think my greatest fear would be more around my health or something happening to me, and the journey sort of not being able to continue would be my greatest fear that I often sort of think about. And I mean, I think we're all human, and occasionally I sort of think, oh my God, what if this all just, I wake up one day and find that it's all just collapsed around me. I mean, you do sometimes have those thoughts when it's busy and you're starting to get juggling so many balls. You definitely do.
Yeah.
But I think the way of dealing with that is using those sort of tools where you have to reframe things quite a bit.
Yeah.
And not allowing yourself to go into worry or over concern. Reframe something. This is a challenge. I get over these challenges all the time.
Yeah.
What are my options? And you move forward.
Thinking sort of logically and not emotionally. It's easy to get kind of caught up in the emotional side of things, where we just have some, fresh air, go for a quick walk or whatever, and just come back and look at it from a different perspective. It's much better, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. You've got to allow that to kick in and reframe it and let logic sort of take over. And I think that's an ongoing challenge for entrepreneurs all of the time. And I think when you said to me before, asking what I tell a uni student, that's the other thing, that being an entrepreneur isn't just I become successful and everything's easy. It's about, a series of challenges that you overcome on a regular basis.
Daily.
Yeah.
But I think, there's this kind of common thing for kind of people in society almost that, no one sees the struggle. There's this kind of misconception that, they were born with it, or, it's in their family, or they're lucky, or they don't see those struggles and the late nights and the bags under the eyes and the strong coffees and the all the stuff sort of leading up to that. It's almost like they just see it when you kind of make it, and sometimes I think we can be our own harshest critics as well, but
yeah. Well, actually, somebody said to me today, I wrote to someone, they said, oh, you've got a day off, and I said, no, I was up at 5:30 this morning Skyping with my coach in the United States. So, no, my day started quite early.
Yeah. I know the feeling. So what has been sort of your proudest moment in business? What's something that you're really, proud of and was kind of a turning point within your business as well?
I think a really proud moment for me because at the moment I'm in the process of launching my online program as Confidence and Clarity Coach. But I also have an e-commerce business, which is a e-commerce hair care brand that I sell called Hair Nation. And launching that was a very proud moment because that's a journey that's definitely not for the faint-hearted. Is developing products and launching products online. Incredibly difficult journey. And when I finally did launch it after compliance and trademarks and all of the things that come with it, I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah. Sounds like, a huge accomplishment after going through all that. So can you share a little bit more about those products for the ladies that are listening and viewing?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, the first product we launched was a home straightening product that people could actually straighten their hair at home. So it was a product that was safe enough to use at home. So that was the lead product that we launched with, and now we've got a few other products as well, shampoo, conditioner, and a serum. A very small niche brand, and all of the products are aimed at smoothing and straightening hair. So that's sort of the niche market that we went for within the hair care market. We've achieved a following of nearly 50,000 followers on Facebook.
Congratulations.
Which was
great.
Yeah, which was organically grown. So there's a lot of fans for the brand out there. So have a look.
Yeah, we'll do, definitely. I myself, we can always, if we want it straight, it has to be curly, or people with curly hair, they want it straight, so we can never win. But I think it always helps. So that's great. So who's been sort of your number one sort of inspiration, or someone that really has inspired you over the years in business?
So I think I love Anthony Robbins.
Me too.
Just his presence. I think he's got a great handle on life, relationships, business. He's very balanced in what he puts forward. And I agree so much with what he says around 80% mindset and 20% mechanics. That's business. That's success. I think Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, would also be an inspiration, having read his story. Oprah Winfrey, just in terms of her background and her story, is inspirational. Yeah. And I think she definitely demonstrates that you can become anything you want to if you set your mind to it, and you are confident within your journey. Yeah. They would probably be the top three. I think his name escapes me at the moment, and I hope he never sees this, but the founder of Uber, I think Uber is an incredible business model. Yeah. Where he was clever enough to see a problem and jump in and solve the pain.
100%. Yeah. I'd love to say I was related to Anthony Robbins, but I just have the same last name. But I do get asked all the time.
I just wondered about that.
Yeah. What about any books? Any books in particular that are a must read?
I think Key Persons of Influence by Danielle Robbins. Yeah. And also Think Rich, Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah. The Key Person of Influence would probably be the book that I would say has inspired me the most.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And what's sort of been your favourite aspect of becoming an entrepreneur in the whole journey?
Look, I think the creativity of being an entrepreneur is what I really enjoy the most. Mm-hmm. You get to think outside the square on a regular basis, and I think a lot of people that are employed are very hemmed into performing their job in a certain way. Yeah. We get to look at things in a very creative way. Mm-hmm. I think the freedom is definitely the other part of it, which is the freedom to, start at 5 a.m. and finish at 4 p.m. If you want to, or have a day off and work Saturday and Sunday. Or there's a lot of flexibility. And it's exciting.
It is.
Being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and having that not only the flexibility, but we'd never have to worry about job cuts or especially going forward. There's so many jobs that are going to be eradicated since there's going to be no need with all the automation and everything that's happening. It's crazy. So it's good to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and be independent and have that confidence that you've got your own back and that you're influencing others along the way. So that's great as well, and empowering other women as well to step up in business, which is a great thing. So sort of what do you sort of most attribute your success to, and what are sort of 5 or so key elements that you could give others when they're thinking about sort of starting a business and sort of running a successful business?
Look, I definitely think confidence is a big thing, and confidence comes from dealing with the mindset, dealing with the old programming, which is a biggie often for women, I think. We often doubt ourselves in the realm of the sort of entrepreneur. So I think being very confident, I think being very clear, having clarity in what you're doing, and that sort of flows on. Yeah. And I think consistency. 100%. You need to be consistent in the way that you put your message out there and in what you're doing in business. Yeah. And I think also persistent. You have to be very persistent because it is a series of challenges. Yeah. And if you enjoy that, that's great. and I know I do, but I think some people give up very early on.
Yeah.
So I think the trade of persistence is a good one.
Yeah.
So I call it the 3 C's: confidence, clarity, and consistency. I think of the top 3. But just being persistent. And have fun with it as well.
Yeah, we've got to have fun, don't we? I'm just going to turn the light on because it's getting quite dark.
Okay.
That's better, isn't it? Okay, perfect. All right, and I'll obviously edit this bit out, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so where do you see yourself and your business sort of in 10 to 15 years' time?
Look, I would like to see myself one of those, as an influencer, basically, that I can impart knowledge and wisdom and my journey onto other upcoming entrepreneurs. See, I'm going to get older. Not that I even think about that, but I think that I would like to be able to pick up a number of books in 10 years that I've written that are a culmination of having been a therapist for 20 years and a business person, and I've actually got a book that I'm working on at the moment. So I'm going to make that happen. But I'd like to think that I can be an influencer and really serve young people too. You know, from my therapy background, that's always going to be part of me.
Yeah,
I want to get that message out there that anybody can be successful. If you're struggling, that's just about dealing with the mindset stuff. That's all that is. And, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it.
You raised a good point before, and I think it's so important. You said that, you know, people will, you know, there's so much pressure on ourselves for results and stuff, especially initially and from outside sources. You know, you get friends and family and colleagues, oh, how's it all going? And, you know, have you made any real results? And there's such a strong element that the result side of it has to be financial. When, you know, a lot of the time initially that there may not be financial results. You know, you might get into debt, and you probably will, you know, up to thousands of debt, you know, in order to do that. But it's really important to obviously count the small wins and all the other things like that as well. So what kind of advice would you give around, and also do you do this as far as journaling and that kind of thing goes of your journey? Or when you initially started out, obviously not now, but can you think back to how you kind of kept in that positive mindset when things maybe were harder, or how you coped with those kind of not down days, but dealing with a little bit of self-doubt if that ever came up?
Yeah, look, I think there's, you know, a few tools that I've got in my toolbox that I actually will use in my program. And one of those is, you know, reframing. When you start to find yourself saying negative things to yourself, you've got to sort of step back and just take a moment and sort of let the brain kick in and go, you know what, I'm going to look at this in a different way.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're starting to say, oh, I'm never going to do this, or this is too hard, that might become, this is just another challenge. I'm going to look at the various ways I can do this.
Yeah.
So you sort of flip it around and it becomes an opportunity as opposed to something that can keep you stuck. So if you've got an awareness, and I'll give you a great example from my own story, because my childhood was relatively difficult. I had a fairly difficult childhood. So I grew up with very much an unconscious belief that life was meant to be a struggle.
Yep.
Now, how that translates into my behaviour and did was I would tend to make things very complicated. You know, if I had to get something done, I was the queen of making things complicated.
Yeah.
And I had a light bulb moment years ago, and that was, you know, this is about, I make things complicated because I believe it's meant to be complicated, it's meant to be hard. But once I had an awareness around that, I was able to stop myself when I found myself making things more complicated than they needed to be.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the thing, isn't it? It has a flow-on effect. It's, if you kind of think of the more kind of subliminal side of it, if we make things hard, they're going to be hard. And if we're in flow and it's easy and opportunities come to us, and leads and sales come and whatever, it's just a flow-on effect. But when we're in that kind of negative state, it is hard. So if you can identify that and sort of nip it in the bud early, it's a lot easier, and it's good to have that clarity around, to pull yourself up on it when it does happen. So that's great. So I will get that out. Okay, so we mentioned a little bit about your business earlier. So can you share just a little bit about, who your ideal customer is, and where your business is headed in the future, and how we can get in touch with you and use your products as well, your services.
Okay, well, what I'm in the process of doing now is putting together a coaching program, which is for female entrepreneurs. Struggle with confidence, self-esteem, type issues. So what I address is just what I was really talking about, the more negative, programming, those unconscious drivers, unpacking those, basically starting to ignite or to activate the success motivation, and help them actually write their success story. What does that look like? And start to visualize it so they can start to actually, I always compare it to a script, so they can start to produce it, and they can start to direct it, and really make it happen, and start to actually go and get wins on the board. And again, I come back to that because unless you've got that confidence and you step out with confidence and you're visible, it's really difficult to get those runs on the board. And a great example of that to me was somebody said to me the other day, how many people actually make it, are successful? And I said, well, I believe it's about 1 in 100. So I said, I'm really excited about that. And he looked at me, and this is actually a guy, and he looked at me and said, 1 in 100? That's terrible. And I said, no, it's not. That's fantastic. I just have to be 1 in 100, and I'm incredibly successful. I said, they're fantastic odds. And it really struck me later when I was reflecting on it, how we had very different mindsets. I thought 1 in 100 was great. He saw it as absolutely a catastrophe, and it was not achievable.
So it's those different mindsets. So you mentioned again back to their mindset. So what do you attribute? What do you define success as? What's success for you?
I think success is when you see somebody who's confident in what they're doing. They're very clear. Their message is very clear, and that they have a balance in their life as well. That they're creating the abundance in wealth. Because it is. Face it, it is about making money, whether we like it or not. Being an entrepreneur is about making money, and we can't deny that. It's just a fact. But byproduct of that is sort of the lifestyle that it can give you. So I think for me, it's a combination of those things. Being able to fill my cup, so then I can give back, I can have freedom. And, a big driver for me is I'd like to eventually go and try to start my own charity. The background that I come from, the therapy background. So it's a vehicle for me to be able to do that.
And I think there's as far as society goes, there's kind of a negative connotation around having a lot of money or aspiring to achieve a lot of money or earn a lot of money. But the more we earn, the more we can give back, and the more lives we can change in the most profound way. If we've got the resources at our hands, we can just give back and help more. So it's a flow-on effect, and it's quite interesting speaking to people with different mindsets, their different, kind of buried beliefs that have probably come up from generations and generations, that, you have to work hard to make money and all that kind of stuff, but you do, but there's more effective ways to be able to do that than slaving away, from 2 or 3 jobs and doing all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting, those different people's mindsets and whether that. So you've raised an awesome point. So So tell us how we can actually find your product. So some URLs and that kind of thing for the ladies that are watching.
Okay.
And get in contact with you.
You can find Hair Nation. My e-commerce brand is www.hairnation.com.au. And look, I'm very happy if anyone comes as a result of this interview. If they buy let me think. If they buy a recovery shampoo, they can have a recovery conditioner complimentary. So there you go. That's a bonus. With my coaching program, you can find me on Facebook under my name at the moment. My program is due to be released at the end of May. It'll be an online program, and I'm sort of keeping a little bit of that back because there's a secret bullet that I've got there that I want to hang on to until I launch it. But I'm also going to be looking at live programs as well as the year progresses and working with groups of maybe 30 or 40 women.
Yep.
So yes, you can find me on Facebook, and my website actually for my clarity and confidence and clarity coaching will be up in about 2 weeks' time. So,
perfect. Exciting times for you. All right. Well, thank you so much for being part of this interview, and really looking forward to watching you grow and your business flourish even more than what it is currently. And I wish you all the best in the future, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Danielle. I enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
No worries.